Money matters when it comes to dating. When you marry a guy, when you date a guy and you know that someday you're going to be with him forever, you are tying yourself to that lifestyle forever. And a lot of the times we don't really think about the future, but when it comes to marriages, one of the biggest causes of divorce, besides infidelity, besides somebody having an affair, is financial stress. Truthfully, money, it sounds superficial. Money sounds very surface level. And when it comes to dating, we always tell people don't date somebody for money. I disagree, because if you don't have money, you can't afford to have kids. And if you can't afford to have kids, you can't give them the lifestyle that you've always wanted yourself growing up. You can't give your wife or, your husband the lifestyle that they've always wanted. Or if it's you're both making cash, if you can't make cash, either side, wife or husband, then there will be no lifestyle. There will be no relationship, really. I mean, you can both be poor and live on the streets or live in another country, but how are you going to afford to live a beautiful life? How are you going to afford to take vacations? How are you going to afford to travel the world? I always talk about this on my TikTok to younger women. I say, if you're a young woman, you should prioritize finding a guy who is not necessarily a millionaire, is not necessarily making a lot of money now, but find a guy where at least he's very motivated in terms of wanting to reach financial success in his future. He has a plan laid out in his life. He wants to become a doctor. He wants to become a lawyer. He's grinding on his business every single day that already has some success to it, or that you can see it deep down inside, that he has a fire inside of him, that he wants to move the world with finance. That is going to be dating a guy and then marrying him, and you're not just going to marry the guy, but you're going to marry a lifestyle too. Again, I know this sounds very surface level, and it does feel surface level talking about money in relationships specifically, but you look at the stats, you look at plain, cold, hard fact. Fact is, a lot of marriages end because of financial stress, truthfully. And as a guy growing up as a young man in this current economy, obviously the economy is not great right now. I mean, the U.S. is in $38 trillion in debt, and inflation and interest rates are through the roof. I know somebody who recently just bought a house. The interest rate on their house was like 7%. My parents' interest rate on their house is 2 or 3%, something insanely low. So I'm like, all right, I got to provide for my family someday, for my wife, for my future kids. And that's why I've chose to go to law school and become an attorney and have all of these different side hustles as well, but mainly make my money through law and then invest in real estate. It's so important to prioritize dating a guy who knows that he has a future for himself. And I'm only saying this to protect a lot of young women out there, because if you don't, and you marry this guy, and you want kids all of a sudden, maybe you didn't originally, but now you're like catching baby fever and you want kids, and you can't afford that, you're not going to be happy. And slowly you're going to resent the guy that you married when you thought when you were age 24, oh, this guy's great. But 10 years later, he's not making enough to have kids, to have the lifestyle that you've always wanted. You're going to regret that, and you're going to resent him. And then it may end up in a divorce anyway. Once again, one of the biggest cause of divorce is financial stress. Money is surface level. Money is not everything. But in regards to having a happier relationship, I do think it's important, especially if you want to build a family and a certain lifestyle. If you want to take your kids out on the boat, if you want to take your kids to go get ice cream twice a week, if you want to take your kids out and your wife or husband out on vacation once or twice a year, you need money. You need money. And, part of it, you can tie it back to when we were cavemen. You had to be competent to go out and get food and bring it back to the family. So in a way, nothing has really changed. It's just money is the new form of success in that regard. Money is so important. Quick story time. I used to work for a fashion model. She was a bit older, in her late 30s at the time. I was a freshman in college, and I was doing videography and marketing for her. And she was objectively attractive. All the dudes would constantly hit on her because of her looks, right? She was very successful herself. I think she made around 400K a year. A lot of guys would constantly try to get at her, older guys, because she was already 38, and I was doing videography for her because she was a fashion model. Long story short, I was just promoting her content, and then one day she goes, I got invited to New York Fashion Week. I'll fly you out. You can come film, and we'll have a good time. She goes out to New York Fashion Week, and instantly, within the first night of going there, we go out to some restaurant, and this guy who owns an entire Wall Street firm comes up to her and starts hitting on her, starts spending money on her, starts buying her drinks. By the end of the trip, he had taken her to the US Open, and they went together, and I was all alone sitting in the hotel editing my videos. So, as much as I hate to say it, there is an element of money and economy to relationships. I hate how superficial it is, but that dynamic right there truthfully came down to the fact that the dude was filthy rich, billionaire. And he approached her because he found her physically attractive, as many of the other older guys would. And she kind of accepted that invite because he was a billionaire. He owned an entire firm in Wall Street, and she went to the US Open with him. So right there is a perfect example of economy in dating, which sadly does exist, and it exists a lot more than I think we truly believe. The girl's hot, the guy is rich. The girl doesn't really care that the guy's bald or doesn't have six-pack abs, but he's rich. And the guy likes a girl because she's hot. And he likes that she's next to him when they walk into the US Open, when they walk into public. He likes that symbol of status, having an attractive woman next to his side. That was the whole dynamic right there, truthfully. Now, sometimes it could 100% be reversed. It's very rare where the guy is younger, he's a stud, he's a stallion, he's attractive, he's got a six-pack, he's yoked, and the girl is rich. And it's kind of like a reversed scenario. It's a lot more rare in that regard, but I'm trying to get across the point that a lot of love is logical and exterior from emotion. For example, I've been in a beautiful, loving relationship with my current girlfriend, most beautiful girl in the world, for the last year and a half, 18 months. But I don't think that she would find me attractive if I was super overweight. I never exercised. I didn't take care of myself. I wasn't going to law school. I wasn't having all of these aspirations, all of these big dreams. I wasn't, because that's who I am. Like, that's who you become. Like, when you go to the gym, when you try to make a lot of money, when you network your ass off, when you try to meet all these different people, like that's who you become, you know? And so, to a degree, if I wasn't physically attractive to her, she would have never found me attractive. Like, if I hadn't gone to the gym and grinded my tail off and got six-pack and a big chest and big arms and that kind of thing, and I hadn't put in the work into my physique, and then on top of that, I hadn't put in the work to building my social media brand, and on top of that, I hadn't put in the work to get into SDSU in the first place, and then I hadn't put in the work to go to law school and take the LSAT and all that. Like, all of those things are economy. And that's why she found me attractive in the first place. And economy is so important, and it's so logical when it comes to attracting a partner. I found her attractive because she was physically very attractive. Her worldviews match mine exactly. We have the same beliefs in regard to religion, in regard to God. All of those things were economy, were demographic. And a lot of that is logical. A lot of that has nothing to do with the emotions of love. And so then it makes you question, like, is love conditional? Is love built upon success and money and looks and status and fame? To an extent, yeah, 100%. I think people tend to date at their level. What does it mean when people do, not even dating, anything at equal levels? It means that there is classism to it. There is economy to it. There is a lot of economy in love. And that's why I always give my best advice to young women on my TikTok to go for the guy who's motivated and you can see that he has a burning desire to achieve a lot in his life. Even if he's broke now, it doesn't matter. If you can see that he wants to achieve a lot, green flag, go for it. He doesn't have to be making 100K at 21 years old, you know? And then on top of that, I always preach the fact that you're only going to receive the love that you've always fantasized about, that you've always dreamed of, when you work on yourself and work on yourself to get to that next level, to get to that, to scale your own economy, to work on your bank account, to work on your physical fitness, to work on your diet, to work on your spirituality, to work on your network, to get to know a lot of people, to work on your social media presence maybe. All of those things, when you pour that into yourself and you kind of step into your own routine and your own emptiness, you kind of fill the void just by yourself, not with any exterior person, and you work on your own economy and your own money, that is when you're going to attract a great partner. So what do you guys think? That was just me rambling, but do you guys think love is economy, or do you think love is solely emotional, has nothing to do with economy? In my opinion, the initial phases of love, attraction, are all economy, and then after that, it becomes more emotional. Anyways, I'll see you guys very soon. I've been loving making these YouTube videos, and I want to thank all of you for all of the recent support you've been giving me, comments, subscribers, each time I post. It's been awesome. Let's get to 1,000 subs, and we're going to keep grinding this thing out. I love you guys all. Thank you if you're still here.